Welcome back, everyone, to more from the Stabilize. I'm here again with Jordan. How are we doing, Jordan?
Not too bad, thank you, Mitch. I'm excited to talk about this. One of the decks I've had the most fun playing, and there's a lot of cool options you can do when you're building this list, and I feel like we've come up with a pretty good one here.
Yeah, we've got Charizard Braixen here today. This card is one of the cards that I was most hyped on going into this set, and I haven't had a chance to play it at any large events yet, so I'm excited to give it a crack. Charizard Braixen with Brilliant Flare for 180 damage. 3 fire and a colorless is pretty decent, but the effect is what makes it amazing. Searching for 3 cards and putting them into our hand is busted, and it's kind of weird because there are a lot of decks at the moment that are reducing the amount of stamps that they've got for whatever reason, and Charizard Braixen really takes advantage of that.
It sure does. People that aren't ready for this kind of an archetype are going to quickly fall behind because it's just so powerful when you can search your deck for 3 cards every turn without being contested. Brilliant Flare is a very strong attack, doing 180 damage. It's not like as good as BraixZard, obviously, but it's still enough to apply heaps of pressure to your opponent. And you can actually use that GX attack sometimes because 4 energy is quite a lot to pull off your non-GX attack. So having the option to, like, turn 1, for example, you can discard a couple cards from your hand if you're lucky with a Fiery Flint, maybe pull off a turn 1 Crimson Flare Pillar, get a bunch of energy into play, and then all of a sudden you might not even need Welder to start attacking with Brilliant Flare turn 2.
Yeah, exactly. It's really, really strong. Just like the Greens BraixZards of old, we play this with 4 copies of Volcanion for the Flare starter attack. If we go second, we're able to attach 3 fire energy from our deck to any Pokemon that we like, and obviously that's going to help us get our Charizard Braixen into the position to attack. 270 is still a very high amount of damage. Decks like Mewtwo are still going to be able to take that potentially. They might be able to get there, but, you know, we've got some ways to deal with them, so we should be okay.
And the Volcanion is really strong in this deck. This is actually the kind of deck where you're going to consider going second quite a lot of the time, if not a few games, just because that starter attack is so powerful to make sure that you're getting those turn 2 Brilliant Flares off. And High Heat Blast is actually also a really strong attacker in this deck. In a perfect world, you kind of want to force your opponent to knock out 1 or 2 Volcanions and then 2 more tag teams on top of that. Now, it's not quite that easy because your opponent can play Great Catcher now, so it's not as strong a attacker as it used to be in Green's BraixZard, where you kind of force your opponent to go for these Volcanions. But if you ever can force your opponent to deal with a couple Volcanions, then the maths between High Heat Blast doing 110 and then going into 180 damage from a BraixZard is enough to knock out anything in the format, so that's really strong.
It certainly is. We've got a couple of tech attackers in this deck as well that we can use to kind of swing specific matchups. If we're playing against something with lots of tag teams, we've got Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff. Lots of Pokemon GX on the field means Jumping Balloon is going to be an attack that not only is going to deal a lot of damage, but can also be powered up in one turn. Jumping Balloon with Welder and an attachment is going to be able to be powered up. So 60 plus 60 is pretty good. We could use this against things like Mewtwo, we could use it against Ability Zone. There's a lot of decks that we could use this against, and Puffy Smashes is also a GX attack that is available to us if we need it.
Yeah, you're not going to be using your BraixZard's GX attack too often. You use it occasionally. Leaving yourself open for one of your other GX attacks like Puffy Smashes is definitely pretty strong. It's really easy to go from 3 energy to 5 energy if you just attacked with Jumping Balloon last turn and didn't get knocked out. You can very easily go for that Puffy Smashes on the following turn. Yeah, this Mega Lopunny just has a lot of synergy with this deck overall because you are sacrificing some damage output when you're playing this BraixZard deck. 180 is not a bad number, but, you know, it's not as big as what some of the other tag team decks are doing. So we've got the option to search our deck with that attack to find our Mega Lopunny, Fiery Flint, and Welder. Those 3 cards basically guarantees that you can pull off a Jumping Balloon, and that's going to be a really strong attacker, specifically, I'd say, in the ADP and Mewtwo matchups.
100%, and as a generic attacker in other matchups, if we need it, we do have the classic Reshiram Charizard. It has all of the good attacks, and we could potentially get Double Blaze happening here. We could just play this deck like a traditional Greens BraixZard if we want to. We could get that 300 damage Double Blaze off if we want. And Flare Strike is still really strong. 230 is a good number no matter which way you swing it.
Yeah, I would say that Double Blaze is probably the ideal GX attack for this deck. Obviously, it's the hardest one, so you're not going to be doing it every game, but there's definitely a lot of matchups where just threatening with this Double Blaze turn 2 or turn 3, whatever ends up being, is a lot more threatening than actually just going into Charizard and Braixen and searching for cards. So having the option to go into Double Blaze feels really strong in this deck, considering The slightly lower damage output is probably one of its bigger weaknesses, and we all know that Outrage is also just a generically good attack. 2 energy is always good, and they've got a lot of HP, so it's usually going to be doing quite a bit of damage against those non-GX decks that have to half hit you.
It certainly is. Now, there's some other Pokemon up here, but we'll talk about them in relation to the other cards in the deck. We've talked about Charizard Braixen before being kind of the deck builder's dream, because you can fit anything you want into it just due to the nature of the beast. So we've got a lot of different things going on. We'll start off down in the supporter section, and we'll start off with greens, because this is the key supporter. We want to be able to grab this one as frequently as we can to help set up our board state. We can search for 2 trainer cards and put them into our hand. In conjunction with Volcanion, this is going to allow us to set up a whole bunch of different attackers. Good thing about greens now as well is that you can search out things like our 3 copies of Tag Call, which essentially means greens is searching for 3 trainers instead of 2.
Yeah, greens is so strong in this deck, and that's why it's called Greens BraixZard, right?
Yeah.
It's a pretty important card. Not only does it mean that we can greens for 3 cards, but it also kind of means that we can Brilliant Flare for 4 cards, because we can choose 2 cards that we need, and then also take a Greens Exploration, search our deck for 4 cards that we need instead of just 3 at the cost of our supporter, which is pretty strong. And it's also interesting to note that we are actually playing a couple Pokemon with abilities, so it's not always going to be active. There are going to be some niche scenarios where we can't play the greens, but one of our Pokemon abilities can't even be put into play. So for the most part, this card's going to be our main consistency engine for the first half of the game at least, until we get those Brilliant Flares going every turn.
Yeah, exactly. And once we've got ourselves set up, our generic good supporter to use is going to be Welder. There are 4 copies of this card in this list. Obviously, powering up Pokemon and getting cards at the same time is very, very good. It's not as good as it is in things like Ability-Zard and Baby Blacephalon, but hey, Welder's really good. Welder's strong.
It sure is. It's going to allow us to power up attackers pretty quickly, and as soon as we start attacking with that Brilliant, deck is able to do literally whatever it wants to. So that's obviously going to be the main priority, is getting to Brilliant Flare as quickly as possible. And realistically, once you've set up with greens, you're basically going to be wanting to play either Welder or Malonlana every turn of the game. If you can save your BraixZard from being knocked out with a Malonlana, then you're going to want to play Malonlana. If you can't save it and it's going to be knocked out anyway, then you just want to play a Welder and set up your second attacker so that when you do go down, you're ready to go. So Malonlana and Welder are 2 very powerful supporters in this deck. So we're playing for Welder, only 2 Malonlana because we can get them back, but definitely a strong card.
Yeah, exactly, and the good thing about Malonlana is that we can search it with Tag Call, so it doesn't need to be in our hand as well. Another tag team supporter that we have a couple of copies of is Cynthia and Caitlin, so if we do find ourselves in a situation where we need to get a Malonlana back, we can. Cynthia and Caitlin is also searchable draw, which we need if we find ourselves in a really negative position. It's something that Green's Reshizard didn't have. And it also means that we can reuse some of our one-of supporters. We have things like Faber as a one-of in order to get rid of annoying stadiums like Chaotic Swell, as well as a couple of other niche uses, and also the one-of copy of Jesse James. So we can potentially get those cards back with Cynthia and Caitlin.
Yeah, these tech supporters are really, really strong in this deck. The Faber is very important for dealing with Keldeo, which usually would be a deck, but we can search our deck for the perfect combo of Faber plus Power Plant to remove our opponent's Chaotic Swell, replace it with Power Plant to block our opponent's ability, and then potentially use a great catcher or just knock out our opponent's active Keldeo with Brilliant Flare. Does a perfect 180 damage. That's really strong. You can also get rid of cheeky spell tags or metal frying pans if your opponent wants to get rid of their fire weakness and stuff like that. But more importantly, the Jesse and James is my favorite supporter in this deck. It means that when we do eventually get knocked out, we can search our deck for the Jesse James, and the other one that we haven't talked about yet is that Wheezing, which we can search for with Jesse James. It's going to allow us to, after our first BraixZard is knocked out, our opponent will go to 3 prize cards. You can search for the Jesse James and the Wheezing and a reset stamp or something. And this is actually going to be our main win condition against Mega Mewtwo. Mega Mewtwo, typically a bit of a tough matchup for this deck, but if we can wait for them to take the first knockout and then all of a sudden play Jesse James plus Wheezing plus Stamp plus Power Plant, there's almost no card that our opponent can top deck to get out of that hand.
Yeah, they kind of have to have themselves set up already, and you know, there's realistically nothing that they can do about that. If they remove the stadium, then great, but I think we're in a pretty strong position if we've got them down to 0 card hands. Some other cards that we have, we also didn't talk about Pheromosa. I was supposed to talk about that when we were doing Mallow and Lana. Pheromosa is really, really strong with Mallow and Lana because it means that we can heal damage off and then go back into the same attacker. So we don't need to have two attackers set up with Mallow and Lana. We can just go into Pheromosa and then go back into our attacker from before. So I didn't mention that. I should have done. Anyway,
it's a really important card because we need it for some of those grindier matchups like Malamar and ADP, where we're kind of trying to just out damage them. But neither of those decks can realistically take a one-hit KO on Charizard or BraixZard very easily, so we're going to want to have that in play in those matchups.
Yeah, exactly. So Pheromosa really, really strong. We've got a whole ton of other cards here as well that we're going to talk about. First of all, I'll talk about 3 random ones here. We've got an Omastar, we've got a Rare Candy, and we've got an Unidentified Fossil. Now, for those people that have seen the BraixZard list that was successful in Brazil, it played these 3 cards. We've tested these 3 cards in the past. This is a brilliant way of dealing with a couple of matchups, specifically Stall, Pidgeotto Control, and Florges Dolls. If you get Omastar out in time, then that matchup is almost unwinnable for them because they cannot play any of the things that annoy you. But it's also really strong in a deck that has come up after Brazil Internationals, and that is Baby Blacephalon. If we play down Omastar after they've knocked out one of our tag team Pokemon, they physically cannot in any way take a second knockout. It's impossible for them because they need to recur the energy in some way. That either need to make it so they had less Pokemon in play than us, which is ridiculous because we'll probably have 3 if that, and they'll have to have a whole bunch. They'll have more Pidgeotto than we have Pokemon, so they're not going to do that. They'd either have to attack us twice with Victini, or they'd have to finagle some way that they can get a second knockout. It's going to be very tough for them after they've taken the first one.
Yeah, this Omastar's tech is so strong because that Baby Blacephalon looks like it's going to be one of the top decks going into this new format. And that's exactly what we were saying about BraixZard in the past is if you're a good deck builder, you can just look at the meta, analyze which decks you expect to see the most play, and then play the specific tech cards that counteract those matchups. So Omastar is this deck's version of trying to counteract that Baby Blacephalon deck. Most Baby Blacephalon decks, if they don't evolve and try to tech around this Omastar, are currently playing 14 energy, so if they have a Blacephalon in the active, they discard 6 energy from their hand to knock out one of their tag teams. We then knock out their Blacephalon with another Pokemon and put our Omastar into play. Then that's 9 energy in the discard pile, meaning they've only got barely enough to attack with Victini. They don't have enough energy to one-hit Chaos with Victini. And if you really wanted to make the matchup an auto win, you could also put in a Wobbuffet, which would block them from using Victini and all of a sudden make it impossible for them to declare a relevant attack. But that's a bit of a risk because just like the Omastar, the Wobbuffet does block us from using greens, so you don't really want to have any basic Pokemon in this deck that have an ability if you can avoid it. This Omastar is not too bad because the time you get to the point where you need the Omastar, ideally you've already set up enough, you're using Brilliant Flare every turn that you're not going to need greens again for the rest of the game, but it's definitely a really strong card to have against those stall decks.
Exactly. So really strong, definitely worth considering, and since it's a stage 2, we don't care about its ability too much. We've got some other consistency cards. I'll talk about those first for the items. Obviously, we've mentioned 3 Tag Call. That's important. We also have 4 copies of Pokegear in order to help us find greens in the early game. We do need that. We have a couple of Energy Search items. We've got Fiery Flint in order to find 4 fire energy, and Energy Spinner can help us find energy as well. Energy Spinner is good because we don't have to discard, and on the first turn we are able to find 3. Fiery Flint is obviously good at any point, but we do need to use 2 of our cards up in order to utilize it, and we have 2 Fire Crystal as well to get energy back if we require them, so we should be at no point in any shortage of energy. We should have plenty.
And that's really important because you basically always want to have energy in this deck so your Welders trigger. The Energy Spinner I really like a lot. That's not the card that we were playing in our older lists, but this is a deck where you're typically going to be wanting to go second most of the time, and your opponent is probably going to want to go first most of the time, so we're going to be able to activate that Energy Spinner second effect where we get the 3 basic energy, and that's going to make our turn 1 greens a lot more powerful when we just want to find ourselves an energy for our Victini, and then 2 more, sorry, for our Volcanion.
Yep, that's alright, I knew what you meant.
In a hand for the Welder. The Fire Flint obviously good at any other turn besides that. And yeah, the fire crystals are going to make sure that we never run out of energy. We can go into multiple different attackers thanks to these fire crystals. So it's a very safe and consistent line of energy because we are playing a slightly lower count of fire energy than some other lists are.
Yeah, we've got 10 fire energy and 1 weakness guard energy in this list. Weakness guard energy is really, really good against ADP because it means that Keldeo can't one-shot you, can do 140, and with Mallow and Lana we should be able to heal most of that off. So weakness guard energy really, really important for that matchup specifically.
Yeah, it's really good. Your attacks, besides double blades, all of your attacks cost 1 colorless energy. And a high heat blast as well, but all of your tag team attacks for the most part cost 1 colorless energy, so you don't have to get punished for using it too often. It's really good because you can survive their Keldeo and then just use knock their Keldeo out and then you win. Yeah, so definitely worth playing in my opinion.
It seems pretty strong, so we've got that in there. We also have a copy of Tag Switch as well. This is a card that, again, we haven't had in lists in the past, but it's really strong. One of copy, obviously, you can search it out whenever you are attacking, and you can use greens to grab it as well, but it's really, really strong in combination with Mallow and Lana. If you Mallow and Lana, heal off a bunch of damage from your active Pokemon, Tag Switch that energy onto something else, Welder, and you can potentially get yourself into a Puffy... you Mallow and Lana. If you can't Welder if you Mallow and Lana. I'm just going crazy here. But you could potentially switch into something Tag Switch, Welder, attach, Puffy Smasher if you want, or you can just, Tag Switch, attach, and then suddenly you're using Jumping Balloons. So that seems pretty good.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, actually, Mitch, because probably the 61st card in this deck, and one we had to cut last minute, was that Lieutenant Surge's strategy, which would have allowed you to go Mallow and Lana into Welder, which is a pretty strong card to play. It's kind of just like these plays you can make with the Surge and the Tag Switch. This is just basically the luxuries that we get when we're playing this BraixZard deck. We get to pull off these pretty insane combos that no other decks would realistically be able to pull off because we're able to search a deck for 3 cards every turn. And this is going to give us a realistic way of powering up that Double Blaze if our opponent isn't expecting it. You do need to have at least 1 fire energy on a BraixZard to pull it off, and then you can attach a second fire energy, Welder 2 more on, and then Tag Switch another 2, and all of a sudden you've got 6 energy to take a big knock out of nowhere that your opponent's not expecting. So a lot of versatility in this card.
Certainly is. We've got a few more cards to talk about. We have 2 copies of Great Catcher. I know we were trying to fit a 3rd one in. You could potentially even play Custom Catcher in this list since you're running greens. That's one of the areas that we kind of have to skimp on, but 2 should be enough, especially if we're able to take knockouts with other Pokemon as well. We could even use Puffy Smashes to get 2 prizes off the bench if we want to, so it's not the end of the world. 2 is probably the minimum, though, that you would be playing.
Definitely. I'd love to see a couple more. The Custom Catcher's great on matchups, but I think for the most part, the 2 Great Catcher is enough to win most games. It's just a luxury to play more, and I do like luxuries, but we had to fit a lot of other cards in.
We certainly did. One of those other cards is a single copy of Pokemon Communication. Now talk us through this one, Jordan, because it seems insane, but it's actually serving a really important purpose. Yeah,
so it does kind of seem weird to play like a 1 search card like this in this deck, but we are playing green, so we can just search our deck for example, a Tag Call and a Pokemon Communication, and to search our deck for a non-GX Pokemon with a green, which you couldn't do without access to this card. This allows us to find not only our Pheromosa if we need it, or our Weezing, but more importantly, if we open with our Pheromosa or a Switch, then it gives us access to finding our Volcanion on the first turn of the game if we don't start with it. And more importantly, it allows us to find that Omastar against decks like Pidgeotto Control, because it's going to be a little tough to find that Omastar if they're playing a Reset Stamp every turn. That is the one deck in the format that can pretty reliably stamp you every turn, so you don't always get to keep your cards against Pidgeotto Control, whereas most other matchups you do get to keep them. So being able to search for that Omastar against Pidgeotto, which is a matchup where you really need to play, is definitely really strong.
It certainly is, and Pokemon Communication is never a dead card realistically. You can always use it to find something. We've got 2 copies of Reset Stamp. We mentioned it in combination with Jesse and James. You can use it to completely cripple your opponent's hand, but Reset Stamp is obviously really, really good, and you can control the amount of prizes that your opponent gets reasonably efficiently with this deck. You can attack with Volcanion a couple of times and potentially force your opponent to go down to 2 or 1 prizes remaining, but I think the cool Jesse James play is the best thing about this card in this deck.
Yeah, it's another card that we had to cut down. play a third stamp. I think you basically choose, do I play 3 stamps, or do I play 2 plus the wheezing? Both are respectable. We've gone with the wheezing just because it gives you a little more versatility with that Pokemon communication, and it means that if our opponent goes straight into knocking out a tag team before they knock out any Volcanions, then we can punish them for going aggressive like that and go for that stamp Jesse James wheezing play, which is really strong. But I think that the third stamp is probably the more consistent disruptive card if you want to go with that. That's completely respectable.
Yeah, 100%. We also have down here, there's 1 copy of Switch. We want to get in and out of the active. And we have a Heat Factory and 3 Power Plants to turn off things like Keldeo and also lock out Mega Mewtwo from... Oh, Mega Mewtwo. I did it now. Oh no! If you watched our last video, Jordan did it and I scolded him, but now I've done it as well. You can turn off Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team with Power Plant, which is important as well as annoying to Denes.
Yep, we've already spoken about most of these cards. They're pretty good in this deck. It's one of our main win conditions is locking our opponent out with Stamp plus Power Plant. Not many decks can deal with it because a lot of decks are running Dedenne as their core draw option. So yeah, this deck just has so many options, and I feel like we've built it pretty well to kind of counteract the expected meta for these upcoming regional championships. We've built it with Arceus, Dialga, Palkia in mind, knowing that we can... You're trying to find the deck, are you?
I've got too many BraixZards on this thing. I'm like, oh my goodness. I presume it was this one. Is this the one? This is the one.
Looks like it.
This is the one.
Right,
I'll star it.
So yeah, we've got options for Arceus, Dialga, Palkia with that Weak Guard plus the Faber and the Power Plant. We can deal with that matchup. We've got the Omastar to deal with stall decks and Baby Blacephalon. We've got the Reset Stamp plus Power Pack combination to deal with Mewtwo. And finally, of course, we've got those Mallow and Lana to try and out-heal some of those grindier matchups. So I think we've got a pretty good shot at dealing with most of the expected top decks right now.
Yeah, we should be A-okay. There's still obviously a couple of things that could go wrong, and since we've got lots of one-offs, we could potentially find ourselves with some rough starts. But hey, this is looking pretty good. We've got ourselves a Volcanion, we've got a Tag Call, and we've got a bunch of cards that we can utilize. The one thing we're missing, though, is an energy, so I'd like to see that if we could.
Yeah, luckily for us, we are going second in this game, which is what you want when you're playing this deck in most shops. We've got all the Pokemon that we want. I guess a BraixZard wouldn't be bad, but we're holding a Tag Call to search that out if we choose to do so. That looks like a bad start from our opponent. They must be playing either Mewtwo or Malamar. Looks like probably Mewtwo, so not the worst start in the world, but probably not ideal for them. But yeah, if we can just thin a couple cards out of our deck, go for that Cynthia Caitlyn, just find an energy, honestly, and I think we'll be in a pretty good spot.
We should be. We've got plenty of opportunities. There's 10 energy in there, as well as 2 ways to search for it. So we should be A-okay. And here's another person that has these amazingly blinged out decks, Jordan. I'm feeling very subpar here as a person. Let's see if all the energy... just regular energy. What a loser. Unbelievable.
I'm sure we'll be alright. So, yeah, this is a matchup where we're kind of going to be relying a bit more on that disruptive element. We're going to want to try and lock our opponent out in the late game with those Power Plants and Reset Stamps. And what's really good is a lot of Mewtwo lists recently have been cutting down on that Reset Hole Marshadow. So if we Stamp and Power Plant them, it's going to be really hard for them to draw out of that if they don't have access to Reset Hole, which is it's a pretty good thing for our strategy. We just need to make sure we can get set up and able to pull that off, and we'll have a pretty good shot at winning this one, I reckon.
Yeah, we should be okay. They've given us Viridian Forest, so we're going to be able to use Flare Starter. Now, the question here is, what do we do? What do you think, Jordan? Because they're obviously gearing up to use their Charizard GX's GX attack. Now, they've got BraixZard in there, so they could potentially double blaze to knock out something. What do you reckon? What do you reckon our target should be here?
Well, a pretty strong one could be that Mega Lopunny in our hand, because our opponent has already benched 3 GXs, so they're almost in range to be knocked out by Mega Lopunny, but I think it's a bit greedy to... I'd say the safest play overall would be charging up that BraixZard, try and find the cards we need as soon as possible. If we can find the cards we need to get the Power Plant plus the Reset Stamp, then we're going to be in a pretty good spot. We've got the green tier as well, which is really strong. Or we could just go into the Reshizard, use the greens to set up the cards that we need to pull off a wall the next turn, and all of a sudden we'll be threatening a turn 2 double blaze, which is really scary for the Mewtwo player. So honestly, I feel like I'd be leaning towards the Reshizard play right now.
Yeah, what we could do is we could grab Welder and also our Energy Spinner. That'll find us a ton of energy. I'd really love to grab the Power Plant. to guarantee that we force that Viridian. We force that Mewtwo to do a bunch of stuff. But they need to switch and Great Catcher. We'll see how we go. I reckon we will grab Welder and the Spinner here as well. And then we'll just go into the BraixZard. What do you think? That seems good.
Yeah, it's a little risky because our opponent has gotten a really strong start here. If they do pull off the Great Catcher, plus the switch, plus the attachment, they're going to be taking 3 prizes before we're able to deal with it. But it doesn't matter which tag team we're going to. I
actually think if we put down Mega Lopunny as well, and then we Flare Starter down here, they need to choose, right? They need to pick which one they want to go and take a knockout on.
Yeah.
So I think this seems like the strongest play we could...
I didn't forget to play the Energy Spinner. Oh no!
That's alright.
What have we done?
Oh, I'm an idiot. That's fine. It was all perfect, and then I didn't do the right thing. It's fine. Don't worry about it because we've got Viridian Forest and Energy Spinner, so we can find it. We just need to get an energy off of the top deck. Oh my god, I'm so embarrassed. I was just so
a little bit of RNG into it. We've still got all the stuff that we need.
I was so excited because I'm like, oh, we've put them into a situation where they need to choose. It's gonna be perfect. There's nothing that they can do. Oh, I forgot to energy spin. Oh well, doesn't matter.
The other good thing about benching that Mega Lopunny is it might play Dedenne down. If they do bench a Dedenne, then we're going to be in range of the Puffy Smashes for a knockout on that Mewtwo. So they might end up choosing not to play Dedenne, and if they do, that's going to make it a bit harder for them to pull off the play they want to make this turn.
That is
Unfortunately,
true.
They've got Switch, but I think that they discard it. Means they've probably got another one in hand.
Possibly.
Yeah,
oh my god, I'm so embarrassed.
It's not the worst mistake. Everyone knew what we meant to do. Because
we literally said we were gonna do it, but it doesn't matter. It's fine. I'm not too upset. Oh, hey, it doesn't matter. They gave us a giant half. We're being saved by our opponent. Thanks, buddy.
All right, so it looks like hopefully we'll be able to play the game. The way our opponent's playing, I feel like they've got a pretty good shot at pulling off this attack for the knockout here. They've got the Welder with Saw a Switch in their hand. I imagine they've got thrown that away unless they absolutely had to. So I think they're probably just digging for Great Catcher here. If they get it, then we're going to be in a bit of a problem. But hey, we've got the Welder, the Energy Spinner, the Reset Stamp. Would be nice if we could draw into a Power Plant off of the Welder, but we've basically got all the cards we need.
We're being punished. We're being immediately punished.
I was not expecting our opponent to have a Marsha. That's not a card that... Well, that's a card that, at least from our experience, Mewtwo players have been cutting recently, and we kind of tried to capitalize on that decision with our list.
If only we'd played Energy... If only we'd played Energy Spinner last turn, we would be fine.
I don't think they're going to use the Reset Hole. I think they're going to leave...
You reckon?
And they've benched the Dedenne. Yeah, I think so, because if they use the Reset Hole right now, then we'll just go Power Plant Stamp and destroy them.
They just bin the Switch. They just bin their Switch.
This is so weird.
They misplayed as well! They just misplayed. What a video! What content! This is hot content.
Everybody missed this on TCG.
That was a disaster. That was an absolute disaster. Let's try it again.
I don't think anybody would be able to say that they've never made a mistake or a small misplay on TCG just if they forgot to play a card or something.
That was so bad. Oh my god. Anyway, let's try and play a real one where I don't completely stuff it up. This has been a common theme over the last week and a half, Jordan. I've been playing really poorly.
Oh, that's alright. It's not about that. It's about having fun, right?
Experience. We're having a great time. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, if we do want to take some information out of that last game we played, the fact that our opponent was forced to play their second Dedenne down means even if they did pull off the Switch plus the Great Catcher and knock out one of our tag teams, we were holding all the cards we needed to get the return KO with either one. Whichever one they didn't kill, we had the Welder plus the energy in hand or like the way to search for the energy in hand to pull off the knockout on their Mewtwo, potentially play a Reset Stamp as well. I think we were in a pretty good spot that last game, actually.
Yeah, it's not gonna be too bad here. I reckon a big problem that we've got here in this game is that we've got Weakness Guard energy and the Charizard Braixen. But if we manage to get a greens off of the Pokegear, we are going to be set because we'll be able to grab ourselves a energy spinner and use it and attach it to a Volcanion and switch into it. So we should be okay as long as we hit a greens. I think the green would make this a much better hand. This looks like a slightly different version of the old Mew Mew. So we'll see how we go. They've got rid of Greninja and Charizard. There's a Viridian Forest. So we've got an energy. All we need to have is that Pokemon. So we should be okay.
Yeah, this is a good example of how some of these clutch here, because we're actually holding 2 of the cards in our deck that we would usually be wanting to greens for to find ourselves a Volcanion, but in this case we're going to have to greens for the energy spinner instead.
We need a Pokemon, man. We need a Pokemon.
Yeah. Well, we can get
it's just a regular Volcanion. It doesn't matter. We've got them all anyway. All right, so
everything we need.
So the question becomes, what do we discard with the Viridian in order to find the energy? Because that's all we need.
Well, probably the Pokemon now. We've got the Volcanion, right?
I think we don't need this anymore. So let's get rid of that. We'll grab ourselves the Fire Energy. And then
we should cut out our deck to try and hit something off of the Pokegear. Getting a green would still be nice. Like, we don't need it now, but I'll take it.
Hey, greens.
We
Perfect. Perfectamundo. All right, so now we can greens exploration. We can grab anything now. We can do anything we want. We can live the dream.
Oh, it still can. I mean, we could get like the energy spinner still, because it is still pretty strong. We could even get energy spinner plus heat factory if we want to draw cards.
Well, we can't grab energy spinner because it's not in the deck. Neither is our what do you call it? Fiery Flint. So we can't search for energy at all.
We were saved by that Viridian Forest. That is pretty funny.
It's pretty huge.
Alright, so we don't really need Welder. We honestly just need an energy next turn, right? So we just need to hope that our opponent doesn't replace the stadium.
Well, I mean, we've got the Weak Guard energy in hand, so it should be fine. I think Tag Call is the option here, and
Tag Call.
I'm considering like a Power Plant as well.
Yeah, Power Plant. I was about to say Tag Call plus Power Plant seems pretty strong. We can always search it for whatever we need next turn once we start attacking with BraixZard. We've got that Weak Guard energy in our hand, so we desperately need to get an attachment. The only problem will be if we do want to switch into our BraixZard next turn, that might be a little bit of a problem. But hey, we can use Tag Call to get Melon Lana, worst case scenario. So
yeah, I'm kind of thinking we just use Tag Call now, grab ourselves these guys.
Supporters,
maybe both Cynthia and Caitlyn. I think that's probably not bad.
I'm just worried about if we don't get Melon Lana, we might be able to switch into our BraixZard.
We've got Melon Lana in hand already.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so I'm thinking both Cynthia and Caitlyn probably.
Yeah, either that or the BraixZard or the Megalo. Just a backup is not a bad option, but hey, just having draw cards is pretty strong in a hand like this, so...
Power Plant, get rid of that.
Yep, go ahead and play the Power Plant, force our opponent to start running some of their resources out. And because they're playing the Goose Mahala build, and where they're probably not playing Reset Hall.
Fingers crossed.
Let's see what happens. It's going to be hard, it's even harder to pull off that Great Catcher plus Welder into the Charizard GX for the knockout and BraixZard this turn. That is probably one of the bigger weaknesses with this deck is if your opponent does get the nuts and gets that turn 2 knockout plus Great Catcher, then you can fall pretty far behind. But we've got the Reset Stamp, we've got Power Plants, there's ways to come back from it. Our opponent's got the hardest part probably, which is pulling off the Welder. We'll see if they get the Great Catcher and an Energy. And I forget if the Charizard's in the discard pile or not. It might be.
The Charizard is already in the discard pile, so they need an energy, which they've got, and they've got to find the catcher. So they are looking at 11 cards here. We're actually in a bit of strife if they get it as well, because we've got no response.
They're going pretty deep here. The giant half means if we were able to find like a Welder, then potentially we could try and find another attacker. Maybe in hindsight we should have taken a backup attacker instead of that Cynthia and Caitlyn, but I think regardless of whether we took that or not, we'd be in a bit of trouble if our opponent gets this turn 2 knockout.
Yeah, grabbing a Cherish Ball there, that's not a good sign for them when it comes to the opportunity to grab a catcher, but it doesn't mean they don't have it. That's the other thing. So they could just have it in hand, and they're using their Stellarish here to grab more Pokemon. Maybe they're grabbing out something to discard as well, which would be frustrating. Hopefully they don't have it. Hopefully.
Well, they can't use Ditto Change a second time, because they've already done that this turn, so the Cherish Ball, if they don't have it, isn't going to give them any additional cards. They're just going to have to knock out a Volcanion if that's the case, which is pretty strong. But if they do that, then all of a sudden we get the opportunity to declare our BraixZard's attack search our cards for search our deck for exactly the cards we need to deal with our opponent, which would probably be a backup attacker potentially, a welder or to power it up, and probably a power plant. There's probably 3 of the cards.
This game is over. This game is over. It's done. See you later.
The nuts.
Look at this. Look at all the cards that they got. Oh no. Well, let's see what we top deck.
So now we're going to be in a bit of problem. We're going to really want to try and get that reset stamp plus power plant combo as soon as possible. We've got one of the pieces already, but we really needed that one turn to just use BraixZard once. If we were able to just pull off one attack to search a deck for the cards to deal with it, then I think we'd be in a pretty good spot. But our opponent's putting on all the pressure now, so we're going to have to get lucky.
We are. We'll see what happens here. They're scrolling through the list of attacks that they can choose. Maybe they'll misclick and won't take the knockout. We'll see what happens.
I guess tag coach isn't a bad option for them as well, but I would definitely feel like they're going to go for the knockout here. That seems like a much more intimidating play, especially since they don't even...
Just flare blitz, dude. Like, it's fine.
Just do it.
He's sitting there waiting for us. What are you making us wait for? We know we've lost. Just lose. Make us lose already. Come on.
Like, why haven't they skipped you? I'm so confused.
Yeah. Brilliant flare. Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. All right. Okay.
We get to search a deck for cards. How exciting!
We do. This is infinitely better. So we can attach the weakness guard energy here. We can reset stamp as well, which will annoy them. And yeah, we can potentially find ourselves an attacker, which will be interesting.
Yeah, we can. What's really cool is we can hopefully reset a stamp and then search for another reset next turn to really put them in an awkward position. But there's quite a lot of cards to draw here, so that's some of them.
That's a good card.
Tackle's going to be a big card. So yeah, I feel like as long as the second reset stamp in our deck, we should have the luxury to play the reset stamp now. So we definitely want to find an attacker. Low Punny seems like the best one. Maybe Charizard isn't a bad one either, but I would prioritize the Low Punny. Is the reset stamp in deck?
The reset stamp is in deck, so we can find that. I'm just looking at other combinations of cards. We could grab Jesse James as well, but we only discard 2, so that wouldn't be worth searching for. I'm not sure what the best option here is. What's our other card that we're going to grab? Is it Mallow and Lana, or is it like a BraixZard to discard?
Probably just the Mallow and Lana seems like the safest play. I don't think the second card here really matters. What really matters is the cards we choose to take off of the Brilliant Flare. So for now, we're just going to Giant Half, bench our Mega Lopunny, I guess, so that it doesn't get stamped away, and so we can promote it next turn. Seems pretty good.
Giant Half. What are we going to get rid of? Weak Guard energy here?
Probably Mallow and Lana.
Mallow and Lana?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, okay. Goodbye.
I think we need to heal too often in this matchup. So yeah, we can start getting this Charizard powered up. Probably attach the Weak Guard just so that it's out of our deck and we don't have to deal with it anymore. I can play the Reset Stamp. Oh yeah, we haven't even supported yet.
Yeah, I know.
That's exciting.
Like, we've got lots of things we can do. In a Cynthia Caitlyn, get rid of...
So we can... have we got a Welder in our discard pile?
I don't think so.
I don't think we have.
No, but we have a Mallow and Lana and a green, so we should be fine. I think we discard an energy here.
Sure.
I don't think we need that so much. And I think we grab grab green just to be safe.
Green seems better, I think. Next turn we're probably going to want to use Welder anyway, but all right, I think we play the Pokegear now and we see if we get the Welder, because if we do, then we don't have to search for it with Brilliant Flare.
Yeah, no.
Okay, we don't get the Welder. That's fine.
Cool. So now we're going to we're just going to Brilliant Flare. This seems fine. Boop.
So the cards we definitely need Welder.
Yep.
And we definitely probably going to want Reset Stamp and Power Plant. I'd say those are my three top picks for what we're going to take.
I think those are pretty
strong.
It would be
nice. This is one of those situations where it'd be really nice if we were playing that Lieutenant Surge's strategy, because we could have potentially also pulled off a Jesse James as well as the Welder next turn. But because we're going to have to Welder, our opponents put on quite a bit of pressure. They're forcing us to play Welder instead of the Jesse James. But I feel like we're lucky they didn't just knock us out last turn.
Yeah, exactly.
We stamped them into a stamp. That's unfortunate.
This is a problem. This is a problem hand.
Now we can still recover, but if we don't get Welder off Pokegear, we're going to be in a bit of trouble. Thankfully, that Giant hopefully stays in play and we'll be able to pull off an attack, knock out this Mewtwo.
This game's
maybe
over,
even
Jordan.
draw into a Reset Stamp.
This game is over.
You think it's over?
Yeah, absolutely. Because now all they need to do is attach an energy and they GX and win. So they're going to knock out here. They're going to knock out with Brilliant Flare, right? They're going to search for 3 cards, force us to stamp again, which we realistically can't do, and then they're just going to attach an energy and knock us out with Mew Mew. So I think we're in a bit of strife. Our best situation here.
Play powerful.
Our best.
Oh, they're playing defensively.
That is very very good for us, I think. Because now they're gonna I guess they're just gonna use Solgaleo and Turbo Strike. Okay, so that's a bit better. Okay.
That seems like a fine play.
Yeah, I'm not unhappy with that. I think we promote Volcanion, because if we can get Great Catcher as well, we can take a knockout. Because we're not knocking out this Mew Mew with Mega Lopunny this turn.
No, we're not. So yeah, the Volcanion's going to make it hard. I really hope that we can find that Reset Stamp plus Power Plant combo. Well, oh my god, we top decked the Waller. That's really good.
That seems strong. So let's Giant Hathaway a Volcanion here. Let's get rid of that.
Yep. And then we can probably even use that Pokegear to try and get some more cards out so that our Welder hits some good stuff. That would be ideal at least.
Which of these is good?
Going to grab here.
Yeah,
there's a lot more cards than I was expecting.
These are all pretty good. Another Welder, I think.
Yeah, either that or greens, but we've already got green, so yeah, double Welder seems fine. Or a Fire Crystal, then we can use it.
Now, I'm kind of like...
Are you thinking you're going to use Heat Blast this turn?
I think so. So I think we want to like Welder onto the Mega Lopunny. And then
attach to the active.
And hope that we can attach... So, like, do we just guarantee the attachment? Well, we've got the second Welder, so it doesn't matter. So we'll just Welder one energy onto the Mega Lopunny, draw some cards, and then attach up here, and then hit for 50? This is no good.
It's unfortunate that we missed the energy there, because I feel like we probably had to just the bench and hope that our opponent was unable to... Sorry, hope that we were able to draw an energy off of the Welder, which wouldn't have paid off. But yeah, it's going to be tough now. Once again, we weren't able to find the Reset Stamp plus Power Plant combination, which is the way we win this matchup. Our opponent was very smart. They made sure that they had access to that Reset Stamp on the important turn that they needed it. And as we mentioned, this deck does have a bit of a weakness to Reset Stamp. It's also one of its strongest tools, of course, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah, this game's over. It's done. Like, we're finished. So all we could realistically hope for here is that our opponent like goes for a big Dedenne to try and hit a Great Catcher and then misses it, like, and then because they've played stuff down, we can Welder, knock out, and then get a Stamp. That's pretty much the only way I can see us winning this one. And we're still in so much trouble because I mean that Mewtwo on the bench has all the energy on it anyway. So like, even if we do manage to get like a really great hand, we're relying on them to miss, and then for us to hit the nuts. So it's so unlikely, but you never know.
You joke around about the 50 damage from last term. Actually very useful. I mean, Mewtwo's. So realistically, all we need to do is knock out one of these Mewtwo's next turn with Mega Lopunny. Hopefully finally find the Reset Stamp and Power Plant.
It's not going to happen.
And it's why you're so pessimistic.
Well,
because we can do this.
Because if they've got a Dedenne, they're literally looking at every single card in their deck here.
Like, the Great Catchers are all prize, Mitch. It's fine.
I hope
I feel like they're great.
Oh
my god.
They're looking at every card in their deck. They're looking at every card in their deck. Like, it's almost impossible for them not to get it. Oh
yeah,
my god.
They made it seem like they were going to miss for a moment there, but yeah, that's kind of hard to win from there. If they did miss though, I feel like we could have come back. We just need to finally find that Reset Stamp Power Plant combo. I can't believe it took us so long to be able to find that, and that just shows how strong Reset Stamp is against this deck.
Yep, it completely crushes it. So, hey, it's an interesting list. I'm not sure if it's the best one going around, but hey, it's fun to play, especially if you play it well. I mean, I don't think we played a single game of that well, but hey, it's okay. Mewtwo's really tough.
Well, yeah, if you actually activate your energy spinners, then I feel like it works pretty well most of the time.
Anyway, thanks Jordan for coming along with this one.
Not a problem.
And thanks everyone for watching. If you enjoyed it, if it was at least entertaining, even if it wasn't perfect, then consider subscribing by clicking the sable line in the middle of the screen. On the left hand side we've got some videos that YouTube thinks you'll like, and on the right we have our playlist from Cosmic Eclipse. There's some deck profiles and some gameplay in there for you. If you like us, then follow us on Facebook and Twitter at @thesableize_YT, and apart from that, I think that's pretty much it. We'll see you all next time for more from the Sable Eyes. Bye.